Hi everyone, welcome back. My name's Matt Miller from Essex County Council's Sustainable Growth Team. Welcome to another video in the Great Start series. Again, we're privileged to have Sam Candy with us again from Responsible Futures. Welcome, Sam.
Hi.
Today, we are going to be talking about procurement and greening your supply chain.
Yeah, of course. So in today's episode, we're going to go through a strategy to green your supply chain. Now, why is that so important? The why is about reducing your environmental impact and lowering your carbon footprint, about reducing your costs. It's about reducing your waste. It's part of your corporate social responsibility as a business. It meets with your stakeholder expectations, especially your customers that are asking you to measure and report on this. And it enhances your brand reputation. Larger organisations, as part of their procurement process, have expectations from their suppliers to provide them with their carbon footprint. And so the smaller companies are being asked to provide this information if they want to keep being a supplier to that customer. It's also coming up in a lot of tender requirements. Do you measure your footprint? What are the details of that? Can you share that with us? So if you aren't seeing it yet, you will start to see it in the future.
Okay, Sam. Where's the first place that the businesses need to start?
Okay, so the first step is going to be to map your supply chain. It's about working out who are they, identify them in every part of the business. One of the easiest ways to do this is working with your accounts department and looking at where your payments are going. This includes your suppliers, your manufacturers, distributors, retailers, and your customers. The next step is gathering the data, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky. The suppliers might not have that data, so you can look at your existing documentation, invoices, bills, contracts, or conduct interviews with your suppliers. So you can send out a questionnaire to your suppliers, but they might not necessarily respond. So it's about taking them on a journey, maybe explaining why you're doing it. Make sure that you are telling them that you're trying to be more sustainable. And you say to one of your customers, look, we're potentially going to win this contract, and it could be a really big contract, but we have to show our supply chain emissions. Then they're going to win more business if they win that business from you. So then they might be more engaging and want to answer all the questions.
Does a business want to be concerned about what those emissions are rather than actually just getting an understanding?
Yeah, first of all, you want to start with your baseline. And also, it's quite hard to get that to be really accurate. It depends on the size of business you are. It depends on how much you're reporting and how far you have to go. So, if you're doing something like a science-based target initiative, you might have to be really accurate compared to if you're just doing a carbon reduction plan. You start with your baseline, and then further down the years, as you get more into it, then you've got to be really accurate. What a lot of companies do is they'll do an average. So say, for example, if you've got employees working from home, you've got 100 employees, and you know what the average employer at home emissions are. You do an average. Some of the regulations and some of the accreditations are asking for accurate.
So it's always a good place to start gathering it. And the sooner, I suppose, any business do it, then the easier that is, and to understand the difficulties of some of that data and where they might want to then push on a supplier to gather it in a more accurate fashion, for example.
The more that people are learning about emissions and footprints and measuring emissions, the easier the tools are to be able to give that information. And there's thousands and thousands of tools out there. But some of them in some parts are more accurate, in some parts they're not so accurate. For a small business, when you're measuring your own emissions or your supply chain emissions, you might just want an average baseline, but As you go further into certain contracts, they might ask you for more accurate ones. Then the next one is about sustainable sourcing. Maybe you're not sourcing as sustainably as you could be doing. You've been using a supplier that is 100 miles away. Could we use a supplier that's actually much more local to us? Your emissions are going to reduce significantly. But could you maybe make suggestions to your supplier about using more sustainable packaging to deliver your products? Sustainability is becoming a priority for consumers, so they're looking for sustainable solutions in their packaging as well.
A lot to weigh up, I would think, for business.
Yeah, and I think that there's this thing around more sustainable products are going to be more expensive, and they aren't always. So it's worth considering that as well. Just look into it. Just check. It might be that supplier that's 100 miles away rather than someone that's 5 miles away. Or you could have that conversation with the local supplier and say, look, we're getting this price from this supplier that's 100 miles away, but we want to be more sustainable. Would you reconsider your cost? The next thing is the circular economy. Instead of using resources once and then throwing them away, we reuse, repair and recycle them to keep them in the system for as long as possible. So instead of a linear take, make, dispose approach, it's a circular reduce, reuse, recycle model that aims to minimize waste and maximize resource use. I've seen some companies that are doing this with furniture, with paper, with computers, with exhibition materials and event materials.
There are businesses that have created a business to help suppliers and other businesses with this, with recycling, with all of the challenges that might go with that.
Good. So the next bit after that is engaging suppliers and stakeholders. So the first thing is to open the lines of communication and discuss. Encourage your suppliers to share their own sustainable practices and challenges. You might find that you can share some stories from things that they're doing and why you chose them. Then conduct assessments to evaluate suppliers. Could you do a sustainability scorecard to track and compare supplier performance? Can you put a policy in place that when you're looking for suppliers, ask them for all those details, and also put a rating on that? So some might say, look, the rating for sustainability is 10%. So 10% of your answer is going to be on sustainability. 10% of your answer is going to be on social value. Just keep a track, make sure you're asking everyone the same thing, and include those questions in your tenders as you're looking at suppliers. Then we move on to setting clear expectations. From the outset, when you're working with a supplier, say to them that you have prioritised sustainability and social responsibility. Support them in that as well, and provide guidance on areas that you believe that they can make reductions. So it's just about setting those expectations of what you're looking for. Can you work collaboratively with them? So can you set beneficial mutual goals to say, look, we want to reduce our emissions by working with you by X%. What does that look like? And can you reward and recognise your suppliers? Can you talk about them and what they're doing? Could you put in for awards? And then we have providing resources and support. It's about helping them on that journey too. There's no better promotion for a company than a recommendation from word of mouth. And by putting those companies in your newsletters, then you're showing all of your suppliers that's a really good company. And then the other thing is case studies. So do you have any case studies of an example where you work together that you can share? Or, as I said, enter an award. If you're entering an award with your supplier and you've worked together and you've collaborated to be more sustainable, then sharing that story could be really great. Communicate and share yours and your supplier's story. If you're being honest and truthful about the work that you've done with your suppliers or with yourselves, then there's no reason that you shouldn't be sharing that story. Shout from the rooftops and tell everyone about your journey and what you're doing, and you're learning as well. So it's okay to be learning and to find new steps on that journey, because every small step counts towards a greener future. You don't have to do everything. It's just like whatever you can do to start your journey, you will start to see the benefits throughout your business, with your employees, with your suppliers, with all of your stakeholders.
That might be that you've got to go deeper into your sustainability journey. Well, actually, that's where the opportunities are, and some of those can be forced upon businesses, and some of those are opportunities to do them. And we know as we get closer to 2050 and the targets that this country's set in terms of reducing our carbon emissions, we're talking sort of 90%, aren't we, reduction of carbon emissions by that point. Some of those may well be legislative changes. Starting that now, when actually we've still got quite a bit of time to get there, is probably going to be easier and actually might well create more opportunities for a business. Do the things that are going to suit your business. We've got one more to come after this. But Sam, thanks ever so much. There's some great information there for everyone. And thanks everyone watching, and we'll see you all soon.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.